everyone. I have a few new videos in the works, and in the meantime, as I have been observing one of my starter plants growing, I realized that it's time for this video in particular, and it's going to be a video about the largest African violet and the smallest African violet in my collection. So let's check them out. Here they are side by side. On the left is Opera's Juliet. It's a young starter plant that hasn't bloomed yet, but is on its way to the first blooming cycle. And I will show you the way its parent plant bloomed. And also I have a couple of sibling plants that are smaller in size, and they just began to bloom. And I will show them to you later in this video. So the Opera's Juliet hybrid is a 2005 hybrid by Doug Burdick. It's a large African violet variety with dark green foliage and light lavender star blooms with some variable white and light pink fantasy. Here I brought two sibling plants that have already begun blooming, so we can check out the blooms. Here is the large light lavender star with some white puff fantasy and frilled edge. The blooms are really pretty. They stand out really nicely on the dark green foliage background. And then here's another one, another sibling beginning to bloom. This has stronger variable white fantasy on the light lavender frilled star and some white puff fantasy. And as the plant keeps on blooming in the next blooming cycles, it will develop stronger, more prominent fantasy markings on the blooms. You may wonder, why is it that these are the sibling plants, meaning that they were grown at the same time and propagated at the same time from the same mother leaf, and yet they're so different in size, and the smaller ones have already begun blooming, whereas the larger one is still on its way. It does have the flower buds, but it hasn't started blooming yet, and it's so much larger than the smaller siblings. There is a good reason for that, and this will be the topic of the next video, so stay tuned for that. And then in the meantime, we're gonna check out the smallest plant in my collection. This is Rob's Wascally Wabbit, a 2018 hybrid by Ralph Robinson. This is a micro mini with crown variegated foliage, and this is a young plant as well, but it's quite grown up at this point. It's been repotted in May of this year, and this variety blooms with a double light blue blooms with some white mottling. And here I brought another Wascally Wabbit. This is the second plant to the right that I have. This one has been repotted in March, so it's been growing for about 5 months in this pot. This is a 2-inch pot, I believe or 2¼ and the left plant, the smaller plant, is growing in the 2-inch pot. So this one is starting to bloom. There are some flower buds that I can see, and this white stuff on the leaves, if you see it, it's the sap that it forms sometimes when there is a fluctuation in nighttime and daytime temperatures, and there are like dewdrops that then dry up and form little sap markings on the leaves. So you can see here that they don't really grow larger than this. This is the largest that I've seen this variety grow, and that's Rob's Wascally Wabbit. And so now let's check out the size of the largest plant and the smallest African violet plant in my collection. And we're gonna measure Oprah's Juliet first. The moment of truth has arrived. So we will see from top, and we have about 13 inches across. And I believe the large varieties of African violets can grow up to 20 or 16 or 20 inches across. So this is still a very young plant, and maybe it will even grow larger as it matures. And the size of the leaf here, now we have about 4½ inches long. And now we're gonna go ahead and measure Rob's Wascally Wabbit, and it measures 2½ inches in diameter, and this is a micro mini, and we're measuring the widest point of the crown in the diameter of the rosette. So here they are side by side. Oprah's Juliet, the largest plant at this point in my collection, measuring 13 inches in the diameter of the crown, and Wascally Wabbit, a micro mini, measuring 2½ inches in the diameter of the crown. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my next episode.